You're driving along the motorway and you think, what if I just veered into that oncoming traffic? Or you might be walking across a bridge and you're like, what if I jumped off this bridge? Now, this one used to happen to me a lot when I lived in London, and I'd be at the front waiting for the tube, and I would not want to be at the front. It made it very difficult to get to work if it was busy, because I wouldn't want to be at the front, because I kept thinking, what if somebody pushed me? Right. And these are called call of the void kind of thinking. And they're surprising because you think, well, I got it in me to do that. You kind of know that you don't, but you're like, why am I thinking that if I don't have that in me, or if that's not going to happen to me? Then there are the other kind of intrusive thoughts. This is when you're just going along on your random kind of day, and then this, you could be sitting there eating a sandwich for your lunch, then this cringy thought comes in, and you're kind of feeling good before it happened, and then out of nowhere, this cringy thought, and it just brings you down. It's like a dart hitting a balloon. It just bursts your little bubble, and you're like, I wasn't even thinking anything of that. Why did that thought come into my mind? I'm Bron Martin, hypno healer and subconscious storyteller. I've been a hypnotherapist since 2017, and in that time, I've worked with over 10,000 women to improve their lives and their bodies and their minds through my hypno recordings, through my programs, and through my one-to-one practice. And in that time, I have seen a complete shift when we move out of shame programming into complete unconditional acceptance and self-love of ourselves. And that happens by reprogramming our thoughts. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why you have these different types of intrusive thoughts, what you can do about them, which ones you can eliminate forever, and which ones are just your brain doing its natural, keeping you alive kind of job. Here's the misconception that keeps people stuck. We just kind of accept that all of these intrusive thoughts that we have are just a part of life. That's just how it is. That whether they're random, disturbing images, thoughts about danger, or shame-filled memories from your past, this is just how our minds work, and we have to cope with all of them. But that's completely wrong. The idea that you have to put up with all of these intrusive thoughts as a way of just life is a lie. What people don't realize is that there are two types of intrusive thoughts happening here, and they need to be understood differently. Now, if you have OCD, PTSD, anxiety disorders, or other diagnosed conditions, then your intrusive thoughts might be more frequent and intense, but the same principles apply. Some are natural brain function, some are conditioned responses that can be worked with. This information is general guidance and not a replacement for professional advice for those diagnosed conditions. Here's what's actually happening in your subconscious mind with those two types of thoughts. So the call of the void ones first, veering into oncoming traffic, jumping off a bridge, thinking that you're going to get pushed in front of a train, or even imagining what it feels like to jump in front of a train. These are an evolutionary danger scanning device that your brain has put in to keep you safe. These call of the void thoughts are your brain playing out potential dangers so you can avoid them. This is completely normal brain function. There's actually a sign that your brain is doing its job. So you don't have to attach any meaning to those thoughts. The second type, however, we can erase and eliminate those cringy, shame-filled memories. We don't need to accept that as a part of who we are, that we keep getting those cringy thoughts of the time that you walked out of the toilet with toilet paper stuck on your shoe, about the time that the guy rejected you, about the time that, you got stood up on a date, about the time that you went to a networking meeting and nobody spoke to you, or whatever it was, or like that time you sat by yourself at lunchtime because your best friend hated you all of a sudden. Girls be bitches. We don't need to accept that, because you could be having a really lovely day. And then this little shame bullet, because that's all an intrusive thought of that type is, it's shame. We're conditioned by shame, but we're not born into shame, right? So this is a conditioned response. And it's also like, if you think about it, we have like a bliss tolerance level that we allow ourselves, and we get to a certain point and our brain's just like, I think you've had enough happiness. Remind you of the time when you took a sardine sandwich to school and no one wanted to sit with you. That was actually a true story of mine. Awful. So those shame memories are just programming. It's just conditioning. So I lived in London for 10 years, and I did a fair amount of partying when I lived in London. Don't regret any of it. It was fun. Would never want to do it again. But I had so many intrusive thoughts, so much self-loathing, because what happens is you go out partying and it might be like the birds are singing like 5 or 6 in the morning, and you're trying to go to sleep, and the self-loathing kicks in. It's like intrusive thoughts are a barrage of intrusive thoughts, bombardment of intrusive thoughts. And it's really because you've used up all your serotonin and dopamine for like the next week in one night. It was a great night. Now, not so great. So I had a really deep understanding of that self-loathing, and I knew it wasn't me, right? I knew that it was these thoughts coming in, but it still made me feel like shit. And then you have to start thinking, is the upside of this worth the downside? And I eventually got to the conclusion that no, it's not. But that shame conditioning, it's not a natural way for us to be. And so when we realize that this isn't even like, why am I doing this? We've got to understand that shame conditioning has been conditioned into us by society. In New Zealand and Australia, there's a thing called the tall poppy syndrome. Like you stick your head above the parapet going, oh, I did a really good job. Somebody's go, oh, you think that was good? Oh, you're getting a bit too big for your boots. There are so many things that bring us down, right? Or people not wanting you to put yourself out there because, you know, you might get hurt in some way. So their projection and programming of their own limitations they put onto you. The intrusive thoughts are our way of doing that to ourselves. Like you're getting a bit too, you know, like full of yourself, it's going to bring you down. Or if you're in a dark mood, then this is just, well, here's some more, you know, let me give you some more examples of how you're generally a bit of a rubbish person. So whether you're feeling up and you're getting pulled down by the intrusive thought, or whether you're down and your intrusive thought is like, well, let me remind you of these other times. We don't need to be mired in that shame conditioning. We can break free from it. And that's when we have control of our thoughts. And it's not at the surface level of affirmations. I think I can. I am a good person. I am, you know, it doesn't work at that level. It's really about reconditioning that shame into self-love. And when I brought this topic up with the women in my community, some of the women who said, well, I've been using your hypnose for ages, I don't get intrusive thoughts anymore. I get intrusive thoughts very, very rarely. I got one about 6 years ago, and I was putting my makeup on, and I was about to do a online workshop, and this intrusive thought came in. And I was so shocked, and it was just like, no one's going to listen to you anyway. No one cares what you have to say, la la la. And I was just like so shocked. I actually went, fuck off, and the thought just no power because I didn't believe the thought. That's not what I think. Like, where did that intrusive thought come from? Just vanquished it straight away. So when you listen to my hypno recordings, you get self-love as a byproduct of listening to them, because that's a common thread and theme throughout my hypnos. What I've done is I've created a hypno specifically for intrusive thoughts. It's called the Intrusive Thought Incinerator because I love me some alliteration, and it takes those thoughts, erases, eradicates them, it throws them in at the incinerator. And you can experience this hypno magic for yourself. Just go to bron.cc/intrusive. So download your copy of the Intrusive Thought Incinerator, because nobody needs to be reminded at 3 a.m. on a Monday morning of that time when they were little, might have been 8 at the time, when they got sent home from the swimming pool after school because they told a little boy to fuck off. No one needs to be reminded of that. That may or may not be a true story. I'm actually not embarrassed by it. If you want more insights like this about how your subconscious mind actually works, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing. All of this information is great. The free hypno is great. That's awesome. If you want to go deeper, if you want to really change and upgrade all aspects of your life, all levels and layers, all of the things, all of the topics that come up in your life, then be sure to check out Transform. It's my hypnotic membership, and you can get 10 days, an all access pass for $1. I know. Experience my hypno magic for yourself. Go to bron.cc/transform. And it's not that I can't spell. Trance as in hypno. Get it? Transform. Yes. Very clever. I thought so too. Okay. Remember, until next time, that it's only when you challenge your reality, you get to change your reality. And you get to do that today.